Welcome to another JournalNow.com high school football video. My name is Joe Serrera, and I'm joined for the second time in as many weeks by Reagan Raiders head coach Josh McGee, who's got a big game Friday night, one of the best in the state at Grimsley. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me again.
You're coming off of a 31-24 win over a very good North Davidson team. What did you like about your team's performance against the Black Knights, and where do you want to see some improvement this week?
Yeah, I told our guys after the game, we're never going to apologize for a win.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play our best brand of football, and that's what you expect. I think sometimes in a week one game, and very sloppy in the first half offensively. We knew we had our hands full defensively with their quarterback and their running back, who was everything as advertised, and but a little disappointed offensively and just our ability to take care of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You look at their first score. It was an interception return down to the 1 yard line, and at that point, it gets easier to score from there. So we put them in some good positions, and but really proud of their effort in the second half. It showed a lot of grit, a lot of fight in the face of adversity, and in a week one game, you guys aren't really battle tested, and you don't really know what to expect. And so it's good to see them fight, and obviously a long way to go, but we're excited with our opportunities to get there.
The week one challenges are something I've heard from a lot of coaches this week from some very good football programs where, it's to be expected. And you talked about how well your team played in a scrimmage at Shelby, and it was almost like they were ready a little early, and then you expected a little bit of this on Friday night, and that's what happened. But it was a strong performance by your team, especially down the stretch with a clinching drive where, as I wrote about, you leaned on that great offensive line you have, and they did what you asked them to do, which is all you can ask for in an opener.
Sure.
You used two quarterbacks in the game, Mekhi Purvis and Luke Collins. Each of them brought something different to the team. Looking at the film, how would you evaluate their performance? What did you see that you liked, and what do they need to work on?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. They each do things better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
They both bring something different to the table. When you go back and watch the tape, neither one of those guys, in my opinion, stood out as a guy that you say, Coach, why is he not the every down quarterback?
Right.
They both bring something different. And, with Mekhi, you've got the senior who's kind of been in our program for a while, throws a really good ball. Luke is more of a, sorry.
It's okay.
English 2, biology, math 1, and math 3 teachers. We're going to meet here about 10 minutes in the.
It's back to school week, and everyone's dealing with it. I hear you, Coach.
It'll be over just a second. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. And then with Luke, you kind of get a Swiss Army knife. A guy who can do so many things. Played in the slot for us. I think the best thing he really did was his ability to punt.
Yeah, he kicked the heck out of the ball.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It's a weapon. And, when he comes in at quarterback, you kind of go back to, 2016, 2019 Reagan football with Gabriel Hollingsworth. And just
Mm-hmm.
a kind of a gritty, tough, hard-nosed guy. And so, again, they both did some good things. They both turned the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
Long way to go for both of them. But, they've had a great week. And I think they both know their areas of improvement. And I'm excited to see kind of how they develop.
What'd you see on the other side of the ball from that defense?
Just gritty. It was a tough deal. There were times when, we put them in bad spots, and, they had been on the field for an 11, 12 play drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around and you throw a pick and they got to go back again. Well, then you turn around and you return a kickoff for a touchdown. So they got to go back again. And that's a piece of the game I think people miss is, your defense goes out there and they 10, 12 play drive, and, they give up a score and they're tired. Well, then we return that kickoff for a touchdown. Well, then guess what? You're right back on the field again. So a lot of toughness, like I said, a lot of grit, still tons of mistakes, but things you expect to see when you cut on week one tape. And, Samaj Turner's who we thought he would be.
Yep.
You watch several clips, there's 3 people blocking him, and that's what he's going to get. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be, going to try to put one guy on him. And if you do, it could be a long night for you. And so with that being said, if he's getting 2, then somebody else has to step up and be that guy in those roles. But really just proud of the fight in our defense. And, they're late in the game. They got a potential game tying drive going on and to create a turnover. So proud of them, but it's still a long way to go.
Mm-hmm. This week you go to Grimsley. It's a program that hasn't lost a regular season game since 2019. You guys came awfully close against them last year in Pathtown, a 21-19 loss for Reagan. What stands out in your mind about that game? What do you remember most about it?
Yeah, I think not to take anything away from Grimsley, but I think we had every opportunity to win that football game. We were up 12-0 at halftime. Mm-hmm. I think it was one of those games to where, I think Grimsley may have come over and didn't quite expect to be in a dogfight and kind of got caught there for a minute. So they played much better in the second half. Mm-hmm. I specifically remember 2 big touchdown passes that they had. One was just a blown coverage on our part. Mm-hmm. And when you got Alonzo Barnett back there, he's going to make you pay for any mistake that you make. But then I remember, I think the go-ahead touchdown was a post in the end zone that our player did an unbelievable job of undercutting the route. It goes off of his head in the air into the arms of the other guy. So opportunities were there. Just didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And but I do think that loss was a turning point for that group of guys and kind of showed them that, hey, listen, we can play with anybody.
Mm-hmm. What do you see from this year's Grimsley team? Obviously, you've prepared for them all week.
Yeah, a little bit different. Obviously, not seeing 14 back there is a relief. I think he was one of the best high school quarterbacks that I have seen in a while. So they're playing 2 different guys that are completely different type of quarterbacks than he is. They're not going to stand back there and necessarily pick you apart, but I think they're more dangerous with their legs, both of them, a senior and a freshman.
Right.
The senior is extremely talented with his legs, and the freshman, I think, is going to be a really special player. As a quarterback myself, when you've got those 2 guys on the perimeter throwing balls in the air to those guys, it always makes it a little bit easier for you. So, obviously Alex Taylor's tremendous talent. Offensive line, I think, is solid. Defensively, not only do you have to deal with, Jamal Jarrett, but now they've got the next one standing right beside of him who's, he's 315 pounds as well. So, we're going to have our hands full. We're going to have to play an extremely physical game. We're going to have to be able to weather some storms because, Darryl does such a great job, he and his staff, and mm-hmm. it's a top tier program in the state. And I think, when you try to run a good program, you try to, model it and do some things after great coaches. And he's definitely a guy for me that's, that I look up to and has built a great program. And so, tough challenge ahead of us, but one that, we're definitely going to be ready for.
Yeah, Coach Brown talked about the mutual respect that his staff and yours have for each other, how you used to scrimmage each other until you got on the schedule for the regular season. You also mentioned, Jamal Jarrett for them and the big sophomore Andre Hillman, and then Bryce Davis, also a sophomore, who's a body type a little bit similar to Samaj Turner, but not as full grown yet, who's already got a couple of SEC offers and going against what has to be considered, if not the best, one of the best offensive lines in the state for your team. What do you see in that matchup?
Yeah, I think it, like you mentioned those 3 guys, and even the 4th guy, the other D end is a solid player as well. But at the high school level, I truly believe as I get older, you win games in the trenches, and mm-hmm. and I being a quarterback, I used to think, well, just try to score as many points as you can. But I've completely changed my mindset and focus. And, it's going to be a battle for our offensive line. And I think their defensive line is going to be, like you just mentioned, they're going to be tested as well. Yeah. Last week I felt like we were going against probably the best running back we'll see all year long. This year, I think this is probably the best defensive line that we'll see all year long. And so, a lot of hype on our guys, and rightfully so. They deserve it. Yep. But it's going to be a tough battle this week. We always try to talk about from an offensive line double team standpoint. We want to get our 600 pounds on their 300 pounds. That creates movement.
Right.
Well, that's a little bit different. Now we're getting our 600 pounds on 355 and on 320, and so that creates a little bit more of a challenge in movements and double teams. But hey, listen, it's going to be a battle, and the game's going to be won, I think, in the trenches.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. Anybody wants to see a great high school football game on Friday night, Jamison Stadium in Greensboro is the place to be. And this is the kind of game that for both programs prepares you guys for a playoff run. These are the kind of teams that you're going to see in the playoffs. And the last few years, teams in the Central Piedmont Conference and in the Metro 4A have been really challenging themselves, stepping outside of the conference and going even to other parts of the state. East Forsyth going to Rollsville this week. It's just great to see these kinds of matchups for a fan and to see your teams grow and develop.
Yeah, and I think the goal, I think if you ask everybody, you want to be a playoff team and a playoff contender, but it starts by winning your league, But you, in my opinion, when you play in our league, you've got to know where you are going into that first conference game, and you have to be tested. Sometimes you end up on a short end of the stick in those 3 non-conference games, but you try to pull things from them, and you try to find ways to better yourselves. And maybe it's an adjustment in a scheme or even personnel. And last year we came out of those 3 games 1-2, but it really kind of propelled us moving forward. And so, hey, we're excited about this challenge this week. Next week is Myers Park. So it's a schedule that was built intentionally to prepare us for week 5 against East Forsyth and then moving through this conference.
Yeah, it's a heck of a schedule. It's got to be as tough as any in the state, and we congratulate you for playing that kind of schedule, and we look forward to seeing what happens on Friday night. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Joe.